Imagine boarding a flight in Sydney and stepping off the aircraft nearly 20 hours later in London. No connections, no layovers, just one aircraft crossing half the planet nonstop. That's exactly what Qantas is planning with Project Sunrise. Flights from Sydney to London and New York, some of the longest commercial routes ever attempted. But here's the fascinating part. A new nonstop route like this isn't just another line on an airline timetable. It triggers a chain reaction across the entire aviation industry. Airports change their infrastructure, competitors change their pricing strategies, aircraft manufacturers rethink airplane design, and even air traffic controllers thousands of miles away feel the impact. Today we're exploring something most passengers never see. What actually happens to the aviation system when a new nonstop route launches? When Qantas announced Project Sunrise, the airline revealed its plan to operate ultra-long-haul flights from Australia's east coast directly to London and New York using specially configured Airbus A350-1000 aircraft. These flights will stretch nearly 17,000 kilometers. That means aircraft will spend close to 20 hours in the air. To make that possible, Qantas even redesigned the cabin layout with just 238 seats, including a well-being zone where passengers can stretch during the flight. But while this sounds like a bold technological milestone, it's actually something bigger. Launching a route like this is not just an operational decision, it's a system-wide reallocation of resources across the aviation ecosystem. Let's break down what that really means. For the airline itself, launching a new route is a massive strategic gamble. Airlines have to answer one fundamental question. Will enough passengers pay enough money to make this route profitable? But before they even sell a single ticket, airlines must solve a long list of operational constraints. First comes aircraft availability. Ultra-long-haul flights require very specific aircraft capable of carrying fuel, passengers, and cargo across extreme distances. Then there's crew scheduling. Flights lasting nearly 20 hours require multiple pilots and augmented cabin crews. Fatigue regulations strictly control how long flight crews can work and how much rest they must get between flights. And then comes something passengers rarely think about: airport slots. At busy airports around the world, airlines cannot simply choose any departure time they want. Slots are tightly controlled to prevent congestion and delays. So even if the airline wants to depart at the perfect time for passengers, the schedule might depend on whether a slot becomes available. In other words, before the plane ever takes off, launching a route is already a complex puzzle of aircraft, crews, and airport capacity. Now let's talk about the airports. When a new international route launches, airports suddenly face new operational demands. It's not just about runways. The real bottleneck often happens inside the terminal. A single wide-body flight can deliver 300 passengers at once to immigration counters. That means airports must ensure enough staff are available for security screening, border control, baggage handling, ground services. International aviation standards specifically focus on how passengers move through customs, immigration, and health checkpoints because those processes can quickly become the biggest operational constraint for new routes. Airports also care about something else: money. Every passenger who walks through the terminal represents potential revenue from restaurants, retail, and duty-free shopping. So a new route isn't just about flights, it's about economic activity inside the airport ecosystem. But here's something even more interesting. The biggest impact of a new route may not be the airline or the airport. It might actually be the competing airlines. But before we get there, if you enjoy deep dives into aviation stories like this, consider subscribing to the channel. I break down the hidden mechanics behind the aviation industry, the stuff passengers rarely get to see. Now let's continue. Passengers love nonstop flights, and the reason is simple: convenience. No layovers, no missed connections, no running through terminals trying to catch your next flight. Research shows that passengers fall into two main categories. Time-sensitive travelers, usually business travelers, are willing to pay significantly more for nonstop routes. Meanwhile, price-sensitive travelers still prefer direct flights if the price difference is small. That means launching a nonstop route can completely change the mix of passengers flying between two cities. But here's where things get interesting. A new nonstop route doesn't just shift passengers. Sometimes it creates entirely new travel demand. People who previously avoided long connections suddenly decide the trip is worth it, which means airlines aren't just stealing passengers from competitors. They may actually be expanding the entire travel market. Airlines watch each other very closely, and when one airline launches a new nonstop route, competitors respond almost immediately. They might lower ticket prices, add more flights, adjust schedules to protect their corporate customers. Economists even have a name for this phenomenon. It's called the Southwest effect. When a new airline enters a route, fares often drop significantly and passenger demand increases. Even if the airline entering the market isn't a low-cost carrier, the competitive pressure can force other airlines to adapt. So when Qantas launches a non-stop flight from Sydney to London, airlines like Emirates, Qatar Airways, or Singapore Airlines may feel the pressure. Because many passengers who previously connected through the Middle East or Southeast Asia may suddenly prefer flying direct. That means a single new route can reshape entire global traffic flows. New routes can also influence aircraft design itself. Project Sunrise is a perfect example. Qantas selected a specialized Airbus A350-1000 configuration, specifically optimized for ultra-long-haul operations. That decision directly affects Airbus, engine manufacturers, aircraft suppliers, maintenance providers. If the route succeeds, other airlines may follow the same strategy. And suddenly, aircraft manufacturers can prove that their airplanes are capable of operating extreme long-distance routes. In other words, a single airline route can become a global marketing campaign for an aircraft type. One of the most surprising impacts happens in air traffic management. Airspace capacity is finite. When airlines introduce new long-haul routes, they inject additional traffic into already busy air corridors. Air traffic controllers must constantly balance demand and available airspace capacity. If too many aircraft want to depart at the same time, controllers may assign a calculated takeoff time, delaying the flight until traffic flows safely. So even though a non-stop route saves time for passengers, air traffic congestion can sometimes erase part of that time advantage. Finally, there's the broader economic impact. A new route can boost tourism, trade, business travel. But one of the most overlooked impacts is cargo capacity. Passenger aircraft carry large amounts of freight in their belly cargo holds. That means a new long-haul passenger flight can suddenly create a new logistics pipeline between two cities. For businesses moving high-value goods, from electronics to pharmaceuticals, that extra cargo capacity can completely reshape supply chains. So the next time you see an airline announce a new non-stop route, remember this: it's not just a flight. It's a system-wide shift in aviation infrastructure. Airlines adjust their networks. Airports reorganize their operations. Competitors change their strategies. And sometimes, the ripple effects travel across the entire global aviation system. All because of one line added to a timetable.